So good evening, everybody. Now my name is Ramani. Most of you all will know me. Those who don't know me, I think in the process we will get to know each other. Some golden rules in my session. Any point in time, anybody wants to ask a question, just unmute yourself and ask questions. It's so simple. Rather than wait for the end, because sometimes then we need to come back to those slides along with the flow. You can ask me any question that you feel you need to know, or some jargons which I use which you did not understand, just interrupt me then and there and ask me then and there. So that's something which I wanted to share upfront. And I always say one small request: those who can come on camera, please come on camera. It's a simple reason that it looks like a session, or it looks like a webinar, it looks like a meeting. Otherwise, I just talk to empty, name boards, and it's not compulsory, but if you can come on camera, it makes it look lively and it makes it look like it's a classroom session and we are interacting with each other. My sessions, I always prefer it to be interactive rather than a monotonous dialogue or session that I keep going. Okay, so let's get started. I have still not seen anybody on camera. The choice is yours. But a few. Okay, another one has come. Okay, thanks, man. Okay, so let's get started. So before we start, let me come to the screen share part of it. Yeah. So I mean, this is a part of the fortnightly, every fortnightly series. The first and third Saturdays, I'm actually planning to do sessions. This is the third session that we are doing. The previous one was on in digital marketing. Then we had one on product portfolio management from a faculty perspective of the school. Yeah, somebody has to mute themselves. I don't know who. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing is which I always want to say: what is on the table? Okay, what is it that you should expect today? So I just want to put that thing. So it depends upon what the table is actually being used for. I'm sure you would have played. I have played TT like this in my house on the dining table, keeping books, and we have all played that. So normally, what is on the table is not always food. It could be depending upon what you are actually using it for. So today I'm, like I shared some time back, very clearly I'm not going to give you conceptual plan like passing exams with respect to evaluation on talent management, etc. It's predominantly how the industry is actually using these concepts, and how the application perspective is what is going to be focused on. It's predominantly what I have gathered when I was working in the industry in my entire 26 years of IT sales experience. At the same time, my consulting experience, that is what is being put on the table. Let me also tell you in the beginning itself, I am not a big fan of using jargons. Okay, bada jargon leke, I don't want to confuse people. So I will make it as simple as possible. I do not know if how many people remember this song. Amitabh Bachchan ka in Amar Akbar Anthony. He speaks a grammatically English, perfectly grammatical sentence, but none of it made any sense. So I don't want to use any jargons. So I would prefer using basic concepts. Yes, these are some of the jargons which I will be forced to use because this is what we are covering today. So like KRAs, KPIs, we'll talk about in detail. Potential performance could be one jargon, and one more jargon which I will probably use is 9-box theory, because these are some conceptual laws and theories which we have to understand. So that's the only reason. So let's make it very simple. We understand it better. So that's the aim. Uh, Now let us come to starting the why talent management, how to evaluate HR. IPL season is going on. Two wicket keepers. Suppose you are the Indian cricket team selector. Okay, normally that's what the role of the HR, right? How do you evaluate two people? Two people from diverse teams. Two people. One has got experience. One has not got experience. The situation could be n number. So one side we have Samson, who has never played T20 for. I think he's played T20 for India, but he has not played four T20s for India, and he's not played even a single one-day international. Okay, and he's not played a single one-day international. On the other hand, we have a guy who's actually played T20 and international cricket for India. Now you have to pick this team. I'm not here to debate whether the selectors have made the right call or the wrong call in terms of selecting Samson for the T20 and the ODI and dropping out Rishabh Pant. Okay, so the question here is, how do you select? Can somebody just share, especially students, since they are fans of cricket, can they share uh, how do you select two people with diverse backgrounds? One has got experience, one has not got experience, or we can use this word quote unquote talent. Come on, somebody, just feel free, just let the thoughts come out. Come on, anybody? That's part and parcel of the HR, talent evaluation. Anybody? Hello, this is not how sessions go. You need to participate. Anybody? I would prefer the students to participate. They are all cricket fans, right? Shirisha, Shishira, sorry, Mega, Fatima. Yeah, unmute and speak. Unmute and speak. Somebody. Is my audio clear? I am not able to hear even a single word. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, Sainath sir. Yes, speak.
Yeah, we'll check whether they'll meet our expectation or not.
So how do you decide that? How do you how do you decide that whether they will is futuristic, whether they will
Means,
meet the expectation is futuristic?
yeah,
Correct?
yeah. So, particular to your question, then definitely we'll check their form, how they perform recent days.
Exactly. So you want
That
to
can
use
be a kind.
performance. Exactly. You're now
Yeah,
bringing a word called performance.
correct,
Fantastic. But how
correct,
about Sanju Samson, who has never played one day cricket? There's no past performance record. So by
correct.
your basis, how do you select a person for a Ranji team or even an IPL team if there is going to be no performance?
Current performance or skill set or something like that.
So exactly. I mean, this is predominantly what everybody will say, current
Yeah,
performance. But I'm asking
yeah,
you a question. What if a person has not played cricket at all? Okay, do you still pick him into the team? Any team?
yeah.
It's a fresher.
That's yeah, correct.
How do you evaluate a fresher on one side and somebody with experience on one side? This is where the challenge comes, right? This is where we are
Yes,
not able to compare. Okay. And the
yes, yes.
easiest way is always to say performance ko evaluate karo. Why? Because performance is data. You can always hold on to that data and say this data tells me that this guy is probably a this guy is probably a good player because records show and you are safe, right? This is predominantly what we say. Look at performance karke. And this is exactly what happens even in the industry as such. Right or wrong is what we are going to debate today, and how why talent management came into place, because performance, this was one of the biggest challenges faced. So let us now go further. The first thing about measuring when you talk about evaluation, we need to measure something. Okay, now these two players are batsmen come wicket keepers, so you need to check two parameters, not one. Here in this case, you actually need to check two parameters. One is the person's performance and as a keeper, and the performance as a batsman. And sometimes you have to give a priority or a weightage, 60% keeping and 40% batting, or vice versa, or it will be 30%, 70%. You need to give that, allocate that performance so that the data can be compared apple to apple. But the biggest challenge is, I'll give you an example. Suppose you want to find only a person who is the fastest runner. Easily everybody will say the time that this person takes to cover 100 meters or 200 meters or 1 kilometer, depending upon whichever race this person is doing, that is what has to be compared. That is what has to be measured. But let me tell you one thing, measuring speed is alone not enough. What if the situation was like this? One person was running in the water filled swimming pool and the other person was running on land. Okay, even though the measuring parameter was right in terms of scoring, running fast, then this becomes a challenge. Let me give this the cricket analogy. All of you understand cricket better. So let me give you an analogy. A person scoring in Indian pitches versus a person scoring runs in the Australian wicket. Two different areas, two different wickets. And if you say whose average is better and you select a particular player, you're probably doing injustice to a player who is also performing good in local matches in the Indian wicket. But when he was given a chance for his performance to be measured, he was selected for the Australian tournament, where the pitches were, green turf, hardcore, pacey wickets, and his average was not good. But whereas a person who played in India with probably another competition which was not as strong, okay, so then his evaluation parameter might go for a toss. Getting the gist of it, everybody? Are you in sync? You can even show me a reaction on thumbs up or whatever. Okay.
Yes.
I'm good. Okay. Thank you so much. Please ask questions any point in time. You feel you don't understand, because these are so I prefer conceptual clarity. So let us now understand. Lot of times when you are talking about evaluating people, you cannot evaluate one parameter of measurement. The parameters, first step is define all parameters that you will use to evaluate or measure. So these parameters has to be very strongly defined. Let us come to business world, sports world. So like same techniques. Let us now come to the business world. In business world, suppose you are evaluating a salesperson, then we evaluate the salesperson on the product that this person is selling, on the line, the brand which he is selling, the area where he is selling, the competition in that area. All these factors start coming into play. So that is what I said, Australian ground and Indian ground. Even that exists even in business also. Okay. Now there is one more thing. There are some factors which is not part of the individual. That part could be coming from a totally different area, like market was down, market was high. It's not only restricted to competition, it could be an outside party like COVID times. In COVID times, if you say that a person from an online training classes like Byju's is doing very well, internet based companies have been doing very well. And even in COVID times, you can't compare an internet based company to a product selling company and say COVID times, this guy did 100% of his target. If you are in a company like White Hat Junior, you probably will be doing much more than 100% of your target. So you need to understand, sometimes all factors have also to be listed. Now this is where I want all people, all budding HR people or HR faculty or HR industry people to understand one very important thing. HR's role is not sufficient if you are studying only HR. HR has to be all encompassing. You need to have knowledge on finance. You need to have knowledge on market conditions, the marketing strategies, at least overview. Because if you are supposed to make a scope of work, you are going to make the KPAs or the KRAs, or at least approve a KRAs and KPAs for a particular person from finance domain or the HR domain or the marketing domain. You need to have that overall knowledge. Otherwise, you will not be able to evaluate people. Evaluate people is not only ticking with the parameters. The step one is define the parameters. Then only you will be able to check if that parameter has been met or not. Understanding this? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Hey, this is not done now. It looks like I'm talking to empty walls. Yes, I need somebody to ask me questions. Okay, fine. Let's go further. So now I'm going to ask you a question, and I want serious answers from simple basic questions. I want answers from people. Okay, suppose you are in Kanyakumari and you have to drive to Mumbai. Okay, approximately 100-800 kilometers. I do not know the exact kilometers. Okay, I just put it that I got a milestone, so I just put it. So what is it that you will plan for? Simple question. From Kanyakumari you have to go to Mumbai, or from Cochin you have to go to Mumbai. It takes you within 2 days. The target is you have to reach Mumbai in 2 days time. What all will you plan for? Can somebody just unmute themselves and tell me? Yes, please.
First, we'll plan which is the shortest route. In that way, we'll plan.
Why shortest route? Why shortest route?
To save our time, sir, basically.
The shortest route means flight. Before shortest route, then what will be the next question that comes to your mind? Okay, flight is the shortest route in terms of time. In terms of distance, probably there would be another route. I don't know. Shortest route in terms of time or shortest route in terms of distance? Good point.
Time, sir. Time.
Then flight. Next. Is that it? You will immediately decide to go by flight. Check route, vehicles, and roads. Okay, I would prefer if you speak rather than typing on text chat, unless that's a challenge.
The budget also matters.
Beautiful. So budget is the next part. I have 1 point which is budget. 1 point is time. Next, what else? So budget is not a problem. You have around 4,000 of rupees or whatever. Now anything else? Start thinking.
Capacity of driving a vehicle.
So predominantly the purpose why I am driving. Suppose if my purpose is I have to take my car from Kanyakumari and shift it to Bombay is one of the purposes, then probably I need to look into the aspect of driving the car rather than going by flight. Getting the concepts?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that is, so it could be time, the purpose why I am going to Bombay. Third one is distance. Next, suppose you decide to drive. Now I'm making it simple. Suppose you decide to drive. Next, what else will you see? What else will you take into considerations? You have decided to drive. There is some purpose why you have to drive a car. So you have to drive from Kanyakumari to this thing. So what will you plan? Now you have to plan the schedule. You have to plan the journey. What are the major factors that you will start considering? First, you decide purpose.
What are the different locations where I need to stop and where do I need to stay? Because it is 2 days journey.
So how? So basically, why will you? No, 2 days is your call. You want to drive continuously, you drive. I have got no problem.
But you
Okay.
cannot travel such a long journey continuously. So, you need to take
basically,
this.
yes. So basically, you will plan for rest. Anything else that you will plan?
Alternative, driver alternative should be there.
So now you are coming in slowly to planning on from an HR perspective. So first is you checked out the rest part of it. Okay. Then you thought about alternatively people resource. Okay. Yes. Next.
The car should be serviced already.
Perfect. So now you're talking about machinery. Okay. Look how I'm connecting it to HR. Okay. Machinery ka knowledge chahiye. Basically servicing हुआ रहना चाहिए. You should have basically taken care of the servicing part. You need to have which all areas will you rest. Okay, or basically a location from a hotel perspective. That hotel may you will also check. Staying in Bangalore, say if I travel 200 kilometers from Bangalore, I can reach a place where the lodges probably will know the hotels might be less less costlier. So just driving another 200 kilometers gives me the flexibility of saving some money. So you are getting the hang of what all things you will plan for a simple journey. Now the same thing, I just put it on paper and I'm going to connect it with your performance measurements or what we call as KPA and KRA. Okay, so predominantly what will you check out for? You will check out for cash reserves. You will check out where to eat. Basically the food part has to be taken care of. You will take care of the rest part of it. You will take which all places to take rest based on all these parameters. And at the end of the day, you will make sure that the fuel is going to be there. So why fuel? Because sometimes when you're traveling long distance between states, you also check out which area which state fuel is cheaper. So you probably fill in petrol full tank at the state where fuel is cheaper. So these are some of the techniques. Simple logic and simple this thing. Now, so basically you have a time target, you have a fuel target, and when you're driving that car and you have decided, this is a very important question which I'm asking to people. Suppose I have decided I start from Kanyakumari, my first break is going to be in Salem. Okay, after driving, or say I am not Salem, let us say Kanyakumari, Madurai, somewhere, say near Trichy. Okay, you say my first break is going to be near Dindigul or a place which comes around 4 hours or 3 hours. The reason is, will you stop before that unless there was some genuine reason? You normally will finish the target and then only take a break. Am I making sense? If people have driven long distances, how they plan psychologically, right? This place is the first place I'm going to take my first break. And unless for some dire consequences, they don't take a break till they reach that place. Look at the buses. Sometimes the buses might go half an hour late or 1 hour late, but they will always stop at the same point where they always stop. Have you noticed this?
Yes.
Okay, there is a reason, because they feel that this is my target. This is my bigger target is Bombay. I broke it into smaller targets, and this smaller target got broke into, this is my first break, second break, third break, and fourth break. So basically what they did was they broke a result goal. Reaching Bombay was my target. That result goal got broken into some small process goals. Even these process goals have got milestones, but it got broken down into process goals, right? If you travel by night bus or some buses, they know this is the first point I'm going to stop, then second point I'm going to stop. So this process, it is based, it will be in line with the purpose, it will be in sync with your entire project plan or the final target, and there will be some scope for alterations. Unless 100% necessary, they will not change it, except the time might be altered. They might reach the place after half an hour. Are you understanding me? Any questions on this part? Because this is what, if you understood this, I can easily go on to KRAs and KPIs. Is this understood? Any questions, please ask. Hello? Am I audible? First question.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, so any questions? Any questions? Or is this all, everybody understood this?
It's clear, sir.
Okay, fine. So this exactly, now the result goal can be mapped to what we call as a KRA, and the process goal milestones is what we call as a KPI. Let us go in detail. I'll give you example also, but before that, I'll tell you from a company perspective. Now the company would have a goal. Okay, I'm not talking about a vision statement or a mission statement. That's a long-term goal. Every year there will be a company which has a target. This year, this is going to be my company goal. Okay. This company goal gets broken into each department based on the overall goal of the company. They have their own internal departmental targets, so that if these departments achieve their own targets, then automatically that company's goal will be achieved. And this department goal gets broken down, and in the end it reaches the individual goals, okay, or what we call as KRIs. Let me give you a simple example, but please understand this process is from top to down. It cannot be from bottom to top. You cannot say I have to chase 223 runs in 20 overs. The target is openers will score, opening wicket, first 3 batsmen should score around 150. The remaining 7 batsmen or 8 batsmen will score the remaining runs. As a target रहता है. Okay, you cannot say how much will you say 5 runs, 5 runs, 5 runs. Okay, total team will say 55 runs. It cannot go from bottom to top. It has to come from top to bottom. Why? Now I'll give you with an example. Let us take a small example of a bank, because all of us have seen how a bank works. So I'm just taking this example of a bank. I'll not take a name of a bank, but suppose the bank's this year's target is I need to make a profit of this much crores, X crores. Okay, this is the target of every year, every bank, every sales organization, every organization has got a target. So they say this year we are going to target this much crores. Now, in the top management meeting, everybody takes their responsibility based on this target crores. They will in fact add a little bit extra buffer. So X crores means they will say 110% of X crores is going to be the target virtually. And then the loans team will say, for this X crores to happen, I need to have Y crores of loans given to people, and the interest is coming in. This much interest has to come. Then only X crores ka interest has to come. So I have to give ABC amount of loan to people, and out of this much percentage should be good debt. Okay, good debt, not bad debt. Okay, so this is how the loans department will have their own target, one department target. Marketing team will now work reverse. So if this marketing team will work 2 ways. If this much money has to be given as loan, this much money has to be deposited in the bank by customers in FD, savings bank, and all the other instruments that they have. So marketing team will say, based on their expertise, will say, if Y ABC number of crores loans has to be given, and ABC amount of crore has to be coming into the bank, then how do I plan my strategy? So the marketing department will have their own target, that itna ka leke aana padega, taki the money is there to be given on loan, so that it works both ways. Getting it? Finance. Now the finance of a bank, okay, the finance of a bank, not the banker as a financer. Okay, they will immediately work on their connections with RBI as to what is the statutory amount of that is to be deposits kept. So they work on these 2 numbers. Okay, and they will have their own targets of maintaining this liquidity in the bank, so that at any point in time there is no liquid crunch for any issues, so that RBI will not raise a flag. HR. Now HR of the bank will immediately have their own target at any point in time. If itna marketing karna hai, if this is the amount of marketing that has to be done, then I might need this kind of people in the month of February, April, March, or depending upon their HR, what we call as HR budgeting. That's they also have their own forecasting. So based on the HR forecast, they have a plan in place to get the required number of people at the said time. Okay, so the HR immediately starts focusing on catering, whether it is you could have outsourced also, or you could also have in-house. So that strategy, the HR gets their own target. IT department, even an IT department, which a lot of people feel don't have targets, will have their own target. Like in terms of locker, suppose I do not know, recently ICICI Bank said automatic locker facility. Now the automatic locker facility needs to have an IT background. The infrastructure of IT should be able to be automatic, robotics should be there to take care of that. Or it could also be security. Whenever a bank is putting money into this thing, the security becomes a high. Core banking, combine UPI register, link with UPI. These are all hardcore IT targets. They will have to work 2 mahina mein their IT has to be compliant with the UPI, means then they have to get sure that the UPI is registered, or their all those things, the IT end of it is also taken care of. So coming back to the previous slide, the company ka goal might look like a company goal, and you can't say only sales team will do it. Even if it's a manufacturing unit, everybody will have their own targets. This individual target of each department or individual, which gets broken down, is actually called as KRI, key result area, or sometimes we call it as indicator. Understood this concept of what is KRI? This individual target. It could every individual, be it HR, be it marketing, be it finance, be it You name the department. Good organizations, good multinational organization have a strong KRA in place. When I say strong, let me take 2 minutes to explain this. It cannot be like the picture I showed, Kottayam 5 kilometers, 3 kilometers and 2 kilometers irrespective of how you go. That is why I said the person who is designing the KRAs has to have that domain expertise, or at least, even though you might be an HR, you need to have understanding of a process knowledge to create the right KRAs. This KRAs has to be time tested. We'll talk about it in detail. But these KRAs have to be a set of defined parameters. Why this defined parameters is because KRAs are nothing but targets, but these targets are not going to be one-line targets like itna crores you have to do. It will be based on a lot of these factors. Why? It makes the job of the HR easy. It makes the job of the employee easy. Why? Because you're telling this person, boss, at the end of the year, you are going to be measured on these parameters, well-defined parameters. So there is no ambiguity. मैंने काम किया, मैंने काम किया, मैंने काम नहीं किया, मैंने काम नहीं किया. It's as good as that. Why? And it helps motivation, because when a person knows this is what I am going to be measured for, it makes the guy's job easy, guys or girls' job easy. Understanding the concept why KPIs came into picture. When I started my career way back in 2000 or something, the concept of KRAs were not there. It was something called as MBO, management by objectives, and it was a lousy one. Both people used to, manager will sit with you and ask you, kitna target karega? And I will tell one number, he will say, nahi, nahi, itna nahi chalega, itna to karna hi padega. And army style, you know, koi shak, and in the end, whatever target your boss, it's supposed to be mutually agreed. But it was single dimensional. It was got nothing to do with which market you are working on, which area you are working on, what product you are fighting for. It was only about one line: how much sales revenue will you get for the company. So that was outdated. KRAs came into picture because they said a person should be measured on not one parameter, on a lot of parameters. And so the target got revised and KRAs came into play. Okay, I'll talk about one or two KRAs just for your understanding. Then I'll take questions if you have any. So let me talk about some KRAs. Okay, so okay, this is something I do not know who you are, but my sales target needs to be hit. People normally sell like this, right? मेरा target खत्म नहीं हुआ है. आप एक LIC का policy ले लो. I'm sure all of you would have had these phone calls from your friends and relatives as well. But that's not KRA. Okay, so the KRA has got to be tangible. It has got to be measurable, and it cannot be unidimensional. My key thing is it cannot be unidimensional. Now let us understand that what I mean by stretching and being realistic. KRA should not be easily achievable. Okay, any target for that matter should not be easily achievable, because good people get bored if their targets gets achieved easily. So you need to have a stretch. That's what we call people who love challenges. Your leaders, or in 9-box theory when we talk about it, your high potential performers, HIPO, we call them high potential performers. People are those who love challenges. So their target has to be a little bit stretched, gets the best out of them. I'll give an example. If you are playing table tennis with a small kid, your level of table tennis is going to come down. But if you are playing with a person or a national champion and you know that you are not going to win, your quality of table tennis will still increase. Why? Because you love the challenge of playing against a national champion. So that is the biggest advantage. Freshers, whenever you get into HRs and you are into big roles in HRs, please understand the initial first 6 months or 1 year target or the KRA of a fresher make the person taste blood. Okay, it's a very important parameter. This is something which is not documented, but it is there in most of the company, especially hardcore sales organizations. We say the first 3 months your sales guy should taste blood. If your sales guy or you're any individual in the first 3 months taste KRAs being successfully completed, you have a leader in the making. Starting mein agar demotivate ho gaya, so you're out of the picture. So here I'm bringing in one very important point. That doesn't mean make the target less. No, your sales manager, your entire company will normally, when I started my sales career, the entire company, my boss worked with me with making sure that my KRAs were met, my targets were met. You know why? And it was like every weekly meeting used to be, Ramni, kitna baki hai target ka? Kitna baki hai? It was not that target, the target was, the importance of the target was shown to me by every meeting that this is the target. And everybody left, right and center helped me. I took my CEO for a closing in one organization. because I wanted that order badly and he wanted me to get that order badly. So I took him for the final negotiation meet and we got the deal and I achieved my target. So tasting blood in the first part of the first 3 months or 6 months is very essential. You are actually creating man eaters. Okay, that is why the phrase taste blood. You need leaders. So the leaders have to taste blood. The starting में lead करके छोड़ देने का, उसके बाद they will go to the next level. So this is a point which when you're in the organization working in senior positions, please make sure that the first KRA of all your employees is met. Second, it is normally 99.9% KRAs are always in terms of dollars, either revenue saved, bottom line, top line, and the likes of it. One mistake which a lot of people do as HRs, with due respects, they cut, copy, paste KRAs and KPAs with slight change in numbers. It doesn't work that way. KRAs have got to be different for different individuals depending upon which area, which market, which job that they are doing. It has got to be different. And you can have 2-3 lines. You can have, even in a KRA, you can have 2 lines, a top line and a bottom line. Like I said, Rishabh Pant, wicket keeping, this is what I'm expecting, and this is what a keeper and batsman, this is what I'm expecting. So you need to have 2 lines is also fine. Top line and bottom line. Bottom line is contribution and top line is sales revenue. Okay, one small example I will show you. Since I am from the education industry, suppose I am giving a target to my sales manager of a company who is going and doing business with colleges. My task is simple, will be top line X lakhs ka dhanda karna hai in 3 months, and bottom line Y lakhs ka. You have to basically, if X lakhs business is there, 40%, sorry, Y amount of money, this much amount of profit is a wrong word, but contribution should come. The bottom line that the company should make a contribution, or in the local words, profit. From X lakhs, they should make at least Y lakhs ka profit. So both taken care of. Ideally speaking, this will change. Okay, now understand the beauty. This will change. Let me give an example. I think I'm getting a bit technical. Let me understand. People should understand numbers. Suppose I have a sales manager and a sales executive. Sales executive's target will be 10 lakhs 3 months. Okay, 10 example. Okay, 10 lakhs 3 months, and they will say you should also, in this 10 lakhs, at least 3 lakhs should be profit. If they're assuming 30% is the profit. Now, suppose if this guy has sold only 9 lakhs, but if he has sold 9 lakhs, but in that 9 lakhs, thoda sa margin zyada karke usne becha and he's got 3 lakhs. How many people think that this guy has done his job? Anybody? I want a hardcore discussion here. And there was a sales manager whose target was, say, 10 times 1 crore, and 30 lakhs was the bottom line, and he did a revenue of same 90 lakhs, but he gave me 40 lakhs business. Who do you think you will say has done his KRAs better? Understood the question? Should I repeat it?
Sir, can you repeat?
Okay, there are 2 people, ma'am. Percentage, I'm keeping the percentages same. There is a sales per executive. The guy executive, his target was 10 lakhs for 3 months. And that KRA was 2 KRAs. KRA 1, you have to achieve a top line or a sales revenue of 10 lakhs. Okay. And out of this 10 lakhs, at least 3 lakhs should be the profit. Basically, we know the costing. So we say 3 lakhs service revenue, 3 lakhs should be profit. What this guy does is, he does only business for 9 lakhs. Okay. That means his top line KRA is not achieved. But in that 9 lakhs, he priced the product high and he made 4 lakhs profit. His bottom line was only 3 lakhs, but he gave 1 lakh extra profit to the company, contribution. Okay, I'm using the word profit loosely. Okay, contribution to the company. There is this manager who had a target of 1 crore and 30 lakhs. Okay, bottom line. Did the same, did 90 lakhs and 40 lakhs as turnover. He got me 10 lakhs, 40 lakhs as profit for the company. Who do you think did the job better, or both of them are same? This is why I said KRA should be different for different people. Come on. Anybody, give me your thought process. I would prefer, understood the question, simple, na? I mean, both of them achieved their bottom line. Both of them did not achieve their top line. The top line was get revenue for 1 crore and 10 lakhs. And bottom line was get revenue of 30 lakhs and 3 lakhs. Both of them got 40 lakhs and 4 lakhs. Both of them bottom line target achieved. Top line target not achieved. But who do you think performed better in their individual roles and responsibilities? Take a wild guess.
Sir, I think both of them did equal, good work, because both of them area of interest, I mean, area of work is different, area of domain is different. They belong to different categories, so they can't be compared as such.
Mhm.
But as you said, KRAs are different for different people and different employees.
Mhm.
So I think both of them did equal and good
So both
job.
of them, according to you, did equal percentage wise. Both of them got in 10 40% of
Yeah,
their
because
bottom line.
both of them have their different work, so they can't be compared in, the same level of work which they did.
So here is where I will bring in my expertise. Okay, as the line is the hierarchy is below. Okay, when you go below, I want my sales executives not to work on profits. I want them to work on their top lines. Understand the big difference? Okay, I would say the sales manager, the weightage. Now let me come to this weightage. This weightage that you see, can you see this weightage? All of you, can you see the weightage? Top line weightage was 60 lakhs, 60%, and bottom line weightage was 40%. This will normally be for the front ending sales executive. The moment the role shifts, you are a manager and you have 10 executives below you, the manager is more focused on having a bigger bottom line rather than sales target. So it will work differently. Executive ke liye top line ka importance will be much more, and as you keep going up, the bottom line ka this keeps going. I'll give one more example. Infosys, all big IT giants. Okay, you take the CEO of the company has to work on both these parameters. I need to bring in this kind of revenue for the sales turnover. The top line also has to be why. The top line is what is going to give me buzz in the market, as a result of which my share prices will appreciate. The bottom line is from the bottom line will be always seen as to what is the contribution, that the profit that this company is making. That is also equally important. But as you become the CEO, both parameters actually tend to have their own weightages. So that depends upon the organization and depends upon the designation. This percentage will change. Just wanted to give you a small indication that it cannot be same for a particular role. Okay, sales manager, sales executive ka sabka same nahi rehta hai. Okay, got it? Understood this? Any questions? Shall I go further? Let me talk about HR manager. HR manager could have an IT industry, normally could have a KRA of ensuring recruitment within 15 days of exit. If somebody is leaving the company, within 15 days, I need to have a backup plan. Somebody from the bench, especially if it's a IT project, something like Java. That's why they hire people and keep them on the bench. Of course, pre-COVID times, during COVID, not many people are on benches. Okay, so this was something. Second, there could be a totally different KRA from an HR perspective. It has got nothing to do with people, but this works in retaining talent. So one of their targets, HR ka KRA will be training one technical training and one non-technical training for all their employees could be one of the training requirements for the HR. So understand this. Here also you can have multiple lines from but it is documented. Now let us come to KPI. Okay, KPI is a subset. Okay, Bhagavad Gita ka famous quote. You keep doing the efforts, results will follow. KPI works on the same funda. So what they do, we talked about result, the target goal, the result goal, and then we broke it into process goals. So here what we say is the KPIs are nothing but break that final target or the KRI into small process goals. And the assumption is that if you do this process goal, by default, everybody will be able to achieve their KRIs. So to design a KPI is where you need a domain expertise to draft it. And this domain takes expertise, comes with time. It is not an easy job to do a good KPI. So what they do, so just simple. Suppose I want to reach Kanyakumari in 2 days. So I know this is 4 hours I have to reach here. I will keep half an hour buffer and then I'm going to have my food. So I need to have that small process done. I have to reach Salem by this time, Bangalore by this time, Hubli by this time, Pune by this time, and Bombay by this time with little bit of buffer. So if I do these small objectives in the right time or the right ratio or the right management or the right way I have to do it, then I am sure that I will reach that particular place. So this is how KPIs get drafted. They take the KRA and then they draft the KPI from that with domain expertise who understands real-time issues. You cannot say one day from Bombay, drivers can drive from Kanyakumari to Bangalore in 1 day and then only take a rest without even having food. Okay, we cannot do that. So that has to be done with the domain expertise, considering each individual whom you are giving these targets. Next, understand the basic parameter. Numbers don't lie. Everybody has a ratio. If one person goes and meets three, I'm talking this with respect to a salesperson because sales is easy to understand from defining KRAs and KPIs. If one person meets 3 person and one guy buys, there will be one more person who is not a good salesperson, but he also will have a number. If he meets 10 people, one guy will buy. So everybody will have a ratio. So depending upon that ratio, you give different KPIs. For one person, you will say meet 5 customers every day. One person does good meeting, so you will say you meet only 3 people per day. So the KRAs and KPIs can be different because depending upon the person. Lot of times it is not only on the process. You need to think of factors outside the rat and mouse. Rat and mouse means one running after food, running race chal raha. You need to, KPA should also have time spent on trainings. Okay, that is called sharpening the axe. Okay, suppose there is a new product you have to sell. If the salesperson does not know the product, he is out of business. Okay, so you need to train people on softwares, train people on behavioral training, train people on leadership qualities. All these are part of sharpening the axe, and these also should be part of your KPI targets. Okay, so KPI target will be separately different. Okay, and you need to have a periodic review meeting on KPIs. How many calls you are supposed to do in the week? How many have you done? What were you supposed? Yeah, somebody has a question. Hello. Anybody has a question? Okay. Yeah. So periodic review meetings are the need. In fact, normally every organization has a weekly review meeting where every department, whether you're HR, finance, or marketing, everybody has their own internal periodic review meeting with their bosses where they discuss what has happened with the last week's target, or what we call as YTD. YTD means year to date. From this year, from the starting of the financial year, April 1st se leke till now, what was the number of KPIs that I had to do? Has it been in sync with what we are supposed to do? KPIs tested in PIP. Let me spend some time here. Normally, big organizations or good organizations like IBM, for example, when you are not achieving and you are not performing, they will put you into something called as performance improvement program. Okay, now this performance improvement program, you will not have any target. That's the basically 3 months where they might either remove you from the company or they will bring you back to the company. This is your chance to show that you are there, you are still working. So in such cases, they will not be bothered about your KRA. They will just focus on your daily activities. That is where I showed this picture of Bhagavad Gita. Because if you are doing what you are supposed to do on a daily basis or a weekly basis, then the success of the KPA to achieve KRA has to be time tested, and that is what get tested. That's what is a kaam karte jao, results aayega. Okay, keep sowing the seeds, results will come. So the KRAs have to be a subset. Sorry, the KPAs have to be a subset or derived from the KRAs, and the success of the KPA depends upon the way it is designed. It cannot be designed ad hoc. Randomly, you cannot say meet 5 people, make phone calls a day. No, there has to be some mechanism based on every individual who is testing it. So this is predominantly the difference between KRAs and KPAs. I'll just share with you some KRAs of some one department. I think I don't know whom all I have picked. Yeah. So I'll just share with you one KPIs of one sample KPIs. Suppose education is the same education guy which we talk of. We got a top line target and a small target. Now his targets KPIs would be like this: meet 3 new customers every week, meet 3 new colleges every week, 4 engagements with existing follow-ups. You might have last week, before that week, you would have met a lot of people, so you follow up on them. Every 2 weeks you do demo or proof of concept, like go show the product to the customers. Okay, this will probably be to the new people or somebody old people who did not get appointment earlier. Daily update of CRM. CRM is a very powerful tool so that you are in sync and you understand whether the sales guy is working on. Documentation is the backbone of any department, whether you are in marketing, finance, sales, HR. So CRMs, SAPs is or let me say ERP is a general term. So whether ERP, CRMs are backbones of organization to get people to perform better and document what you have worked. Okay, so that is very important. Weekly funnel updates is this thing. And then look at this, the Campbell Care. You need to do 1 behavioral training and 1 domain specific training every quarter. This is the part and parcel of every KPI. So if you do these things, by default, you are going to hit your KPIs, KRAs. So it has been designed in a manner that banda agar ye cheez barabar karega, uska target, uska top line and bottom line targets will be achieved. Now I just gave you a sample KRA and KPA from a sales perspective, but HR also will have KRAs, KPIs. Marketing also will have KRS KPIs. Finance also will have KRS KPIs. So suppose you're in purchase department, you will have a KPI of saving so and so dollars for the company. And when you're negotiating, how you negotiate with customers, and how you procure the products at a better rate at a faster time, with delivery time being of paramount importance. These becomes your KPIs and KPIs to achieve your KRS. So every department has got targets today, because we are very clear today. HR has shifted. If you are working in a company, you need to be evaluated. And one of course, even KRS and KPIs, that's a small challenge, a problem, which is why potential comes into picture in talent management. But understanding this is the key to go to talent management. So the biggest advantage of KRS and KPIs is the employee knows what he or she is going to be measured on, and that is my biggest advantage. Okay. So one more thing. There's one more thing in my company. We say get 3 customer references or testimonials from customers. Why? Getting a customer to talk about your product is something which will help your marketing team. And you just show one customer referral to another customer, and word of mouth referral starts bringing business. So understand this. So these have got nothing to do with paisa. Getting one customer reference or one testimonial saying that your product is good is not going to give you any top line or bottom line. But if you do this, somewhere your relationship with the customer is good, as a result of which your additional orders from the same customer will also help, or the customer might give you some references. So KPIs has to be a subset and derived with the person with domain knowledge. HRs cannot make KPIs from KRS, but you need to have an overall view with the logic on how it is getting created. If that logic is not understood by you all as HR managers, then it will become a challenge. Got this? Any questions on KRS KPIs? Feel free to ask me before I go to talent management. Come on, I expect some questions.
So who are the people who prepare the KPIs?
It will normally be the line manager.
Okay.
Suppose if it's a sales, your sales manager and your bosses, it go at least 1-2 levels upper in the hierarchy. But it will always be vetted by this the HR department, because when we talk about the next level in terms of performance appraisal, it has to be, something has to be compared. You cannot just call people and say you have not performed well. So normally good organizations or big organizations will have something. When they join, they will be given their KPIs and KRS. This is your KRA KPI for this financial year. So what happens is the employee knows this is what I'm going to be measured for at the end when we sit for performance appraisal. So your manager also cannot say apne kaam nahi kiya, you didn't work well, because it leaves the element of subjective or personal bias to a large extent outside the table if you have achieved your KRS and KPIs. But domain expertise is required for KPIs.
Right.
And KRS will always be a trickle down effect. The company ka target is this, so it gets trickled down. Now that sometimes might defeat logic. I'll be very honest, that sometimes might defeat logic. But that is how companies stretch their employees. Suppose company says this year I want to do 100 crores. The sales guy at the end might probably get a target of 2 crores, which is probably feels is high. But he has to do it. So the KRS come into play, the KPIs come into play from the line manager's perspective.
So for the same profile of the job, will the KPIs vary?
Yes, KPIs will vary for the same profile of job for 2 factors. One is the area factor where this person is working, and the second one is from the individual perspective. Okay. I'll give an example. It also depends upon the salary perspective. Okay, suppose I'll give sales is easy to understand, so I use sales as a matrix because sales is numbers are easy to understand. Okay, and my domain expertise is sales or marketing. Okay, suppose I have a guy who is selling in Pune, I have a guy who is salesperson in Bombay, I have a salesperson in say Nasik. Okay, hypothetical example, Nasik, Pune, and Bombay. Now I'll give 2 things. The guy in Nasik is the senior most, uska salary thoda zyada hai. Okay, the guy in Bombay is the second most senior guy, and the guy in Pune is a fresher. Okay, somebody left, so I have hired him. Now their KRAs will be different from all the 3 people. One is the target for a Bombay guy will be much more higher than the guy in Nasik, even though the salary is Nasik guy is high. Why? Because probably okay, if Bombay market is lush and without putting in much efforts, agar I am a well established brand in Bombay, so market mein business hone wala hai, so then probably my KRAs will be higher than that of because the market conditions also determine my KRAs, or as a result of which my KRAs, my KPIs also become higher. Okay, Nasik mein, if it is purely relationship management, I'll give an example. I'm a medical representative and this guy has got all the links with all the hospitals. Okay, so now what he is doing is in the life cycle of the product, he's going to milk the cows. It's a cash cow already. I have established my presence in the Nasik market, so the senior guy is required for me to go ahead and just liaison with the hospitals to ensure my billing is happening. Okay, so I don't mind paying him this thing, the salary that he is getting, but the scope for growth, which we'll talk of, whether he should be promoted, not promoted, we'll talk about it in talent management later on. But his target will be slightly lesser than the Bombay guy. Pune, again, so it depends. Pune guy is a fresher, so even though the market might be probably ensuring that this guy's KRA should be high, but they might stretch a bit and be considerate to a certain extent and have another person in place. His area might be probably reduced, and Pune will be held with 3 people, and his area might be reduced, and his KPIs can be reduced depending upon the individual. So, but KPIs, ideally speaking, should not be the same for everybody. That is why the first picture I showed, one person is running on water and one person is running on land. That speed difference is going to be there. Playing in Australian Perth cricket and playing in Chinnaswamy Pata Stadium, small stadium, is that the KPIs have to be different. So it will be different. Normally, good organizations KPIs will be different. KRIs will also be different.
Okay. So the way compensation is normally not disclosed to everyone. Okay, whatever the salary
I missed you.
Is given to the employee. Okay. Normally, the compensation that is being given to the employees is not disclosed to everyone. Only the person
should not be.
Right. Are the KPIs are disclosed or they are hidden? How is it?
KPIs and KRIs will be disclosed to everybody because every review meeting is always taken on KRIs and KPIs of everybody, and the entire blasting, so-called blasting, happens with respect to your numbers. So everybody, your teammates, because see, why KRIs and KPIs have to be disclosed to everybody is all of us are part of the same team. We are all part of the same team. Okay, then my KRIs and KPIs, that small contribution which is going to my company's goals. Okay, so it is broken down from the company's goals. Okay, in fact, there will be a separate KRA for the company also. That is the target of the company. So every review meeting, as you start the review meetings, normally every quarterly review meetings happen, or monthly review meetings are not happened with respect to one department. Good organizations, like in one of my previous organizations, review meetings, weekly review meetings will be happening only with your vertical heads or the sales heads. The country head will talk to all the sales people, first regional manager, then the local manager, and they all start talking about their KRAs and KPIs. But every month, including the CEO will be present, the production team will be there, the production heads will be there, the sales team will be there, the marketing team will be there, the engagement team will be there, the HR team will be there, the thing. Because in those meetings, everybody comes and presents their KRAs and what they have achieved. And suppose somebody is not achieving, then they say why I was not able to achieve. For example, hypothetical case nahi hai, and quote unquote, I'm not going to give out names. Okay, suppose a sales guy did not do his target this month. Okay, he had got a target of say $100,000 US, and he was not able to do that $100,000 US. And he says I have achieved only 70,000 for my year to date. Okay, this month I was supposed to do 100,000, but I did only 70,000. I lost one order because competition killed it. Okay, they took that order from me. I was online or a $40,000 order. Now what happens is the CEO immediately might ask you, and this has actually happened, he might ask you why you lost, and he says competition from XYZ company came and they picked up the order because we did not have this feature. Our products were failing on this. So immediately he will bring in the R&D guy. Why is our product failing? So the loop starts. Okay, or production, why is it that our product cannot cater to that? So this starts a trigger mechanism, and then he says our products don't have that visibility in the market, so the marketing team suddenly comes into picture. So in such review meetings, which is actually a high pressure environment, sometimes review it starts at around morning 9 o'clock and goes till 1:30 night. Okay, but at the end of the day, everybody thrashes out everybody's this thing, and the entire organization feels a sense of that we are working in one team. Even though it is high pressure, but it's something which we all enjoy because you actually thrash out differences and you get help from, for example, production. Suppose normally ERPs are the norm, okay, where I know that if a customer is giving me an order, I can give it to him only after 7 days. Okay, but because of that, and after 30 days, but if one customer says, I'll give you the order if you can give it to me in 7 days, now production will not agree to give me my box and install some other things. So normally what we do, we check out internally. From a sales to sales, we adjust. Aapka order baad mein dega, chalega kya? Can I push it to this customer so that I can get this order internally? But sometimes he will need the help of production also. So such things get trashed out in this meeting, and you actually are able to, because it's a goal of the company which is significant. So such things happen in those big review meetings, monthly review meetings. So review meetings is nothing but seeing whether you have reached the milestone for that month. So those are the things which also plays a very important role. So KRAs and KPIs, not only of individuals, even the company is disclosed to everybody. In fact, internally sales meets or the yearly meets, the beginning April 1st, we call it kickoffs. They call it sales kickoff, but every department will be there. They will actually have some companies have a T-shirt of their yearly target given to them in the first of the month of April, so that everybody in the company knows this is going to be our goal for the next year. So it's disclosed to everybody.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thanks. Good, ma'am. That is somebody is asking questions. Please ask questions. I hope, because when you ask questions, a lot of extra clarity comes in. Otherwise, I keep talking blah 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 blah. Anybody, any questions? Shall I go further? At least uske liye to yes bolo. Hello, awake or asleep? Hello, anybody there?
We are there.
Okay, thank you so much. At least one person acknowledged. Okay, let me go further. So, okay, I'm not a big fan of the old-time performance appraisals. Okay, these normally when we call of performance appraisals, I say so last century. Okay, borrowing this thing because performance appraisal, as long as the KRAs and KPIs are not strong, it becomes subjective in nature. So the biggest challenges in performance appraisals is the impact of personal bias. Even in 360 degrees, it can always be biased. A person makes a lot of friends. I'm sure the 360-degree appraisal will always be good, but it should not be subjective. You have to have once again, you need to have a clear-cut measuring parameters to be defined. That's normally there in good organizations and successful organizations. Even your organization might be small, but if this process is taken care of and having a very strong KRA and KPA, then you are actually setting your roads to a bigger growth or big launch pad even when the organization becomes big. So this processes of KRAs and KPIs are very essential for any startup. Even with due respects, colleges need to, faculty should have a strong KRAs and KPIs. It actually works in everybody thinking the same line. So that is something which I can suggest. Okay. One flaw in the KRAs and KPIs is how do you promote people? Okay. The reason why is my current performance, my sales executive was doing very well. Jabardast dhanda karta. If I make him the sales manager and put around 10 sales executives below him, I don't know whether he will be able to manage people, because he was good in talking to people and meeting people and closing deals for me. I promote him, I take him up from his job which he was talking to customers and make him talk to my team. Okay, and the team does not perform. I lost two things. I lost a fantastic sales executive because now he's not doing what he was supposed to be doing, what he loved doing or what he was good at doing, and I have put him as a manager, and probably I have lost somebody who is a very good team leader. I don't want to take names, but lot of players might be fantastic players but not good captains. Okay, and putting them as a captain's role, I probably might end up putting more pressure on them and they might probably not perform. I'm not quoting any examples, but Tendulkar left his captaincy because he said it is affecting my game. Dinesh Karthik left the captaincy from KKR to say that it is affecting my game. So sometimes it is a game, so they were smart enough to come back to the normal role. But understand this, in a job when they get promoted, you might lose a fantastic Tendulkar from playing cricket and putting him as a captain. So this is something which might happen. So please make sure that your KRAs and KPAs you have to go beyond. And that is where the concept of something called as potential came into the picture, and the evaluation is the concepts here of potential. Let us understand potential. Talent management is a vast thing, but I thought I will, from an evaluation perspective, for me to I would share some light on potential and 9-box stage. So that's the second half of what I wanted to show. Talent is unknown. Okay, a lot of times talent is unknown. It is not seen till the result comes. Okay, ये बंदा जबरदस्त है, क्या पता लगता है, it is my gut feel. I mean, I'm quoting this example from Ramayana. They say Hanuman never knew what his potential was till Jamban comes and says, we cannot jump, you can do it. He has never done it before. understand the beauty. He has never jumped this distance before, but somebody else feels that he has got the potential and comes and tells him you can do it. So the same thing, potential is unknown. So before we come to potential, some jargons. I'm not a big fan of jargons, but I just want to put this slide here. I will share these slides to everybody, but I just read this through this very simple slides. Okay, according to McKinsey, talent is the sum of the person's abilities. It's a combination. The bande ka ability, okay, his or her innate gifts, the inherent talent that this person has got. It's a combo of skill sets, knowledge, experience, intelligence, judgment, attitude, character, drive, his or her ability to learn and grow. So predominantly everything is judgmental here. Okay, there's nothing concrete. A KRA and KPA is concrete. This is concrete. So that is why we talk of it as performance metrics. KRAs and KPAs are performance metrics, whereas potential is not a performance metrics. It is something of what we call as an abstract, judgmental in nature. So here we say ability, competency, and the power of employees within an organization is probably what we can say as is talent. Let us come to high potential. High potential are those people who are high on performance and high on potential. Okay, the right example would be Bahubali. Okay, that's why I put this, one of my favorite scenes of Bahubali, thinking out of the box, getting his people to come with him, using all possible resources to break the thing and reach the fort. So this is predominantly what it is, and this is the technical definition of it. High potential, we call it high potential, high po. Okay, high potential is predominantly these three areas. Now, engagement. Let us talk about all these things: engagement, ability, and aspiration. Ability, all of us understand the person's capability, or what we say, bande mein dum hai, he can do it, he should be able to do it. Obviously judgmental in nature, but based on past experiences. Now if I say Tendulkar, every 5 matches mein 1 century is for sure, every 4 matches mein 1 century is sure, so we know this guy has got a potential of making 200. Or you take up guy, even though he's not played cricket, we can say Samsung has got a potential to score 100 runs probably in 5 matches. If you give him 5 matches, he will say. Surya Kumar, now based on his experience past, we can say he's got a potential of probably playing into India. So these are some of the things which we say ability. So ability is easy to understand. Okay, though it is judgmental, easy to understand. Let us now understand the next part about engagement. Engagement is what we talk of from a perspective of how this person carries himself and his organization along with. For example, the way, is he proud to say that he is part of this team? Is he proud to say that he works here? A lot of, with due respect to a lot of students, I have seen students who wear their tags, college card tags here. The moment they are out of college, they take out the tag and put it into their pocket. They are embarrassed, or they don't want to show which college they are studying. Okay. So, but understand this. So that means the engagement of this guy with respect to his commitment towards the organization, he or she is not willing to talk about this organization to other people. So that means the engagement level is coming down. Okay. So how proud this person is in this is, and the PR ratio, both are play a role. One is how firmly I believe that I am part of the organization, how I carry myself within the organization, and how I carry myself outside the organization, and my interaction with people. Okay, this is a combination of what we say banda is based on engagement. Again, judgmental in nature. Aspiration, very important. I always give this classic example. I'm sure all of us will have one uncle in our family who is working in a bank. Okay, banda jabardast talented hai. Jabardast talented means ability wise jabardast hai. Very strong PR, people respect him, but never took promotion because he will get transferred from that place where he is staying. I am sure all of us will have at least one relative like this. Okay. Now that means this person was strong, high ability, okay, high engagement, but aspiration nahi tha. Did not want to leave the comfort zone. I am doing this. I am comfortable doing this, so I don't want promotion. I'm, ashte saku, Kannada mein say ashte saku. That's enough for me. So those are itna bas ho gaya. So those kind of people we say are less on aspiration. So aspirations is something where the desire for challenge, desire to be stretched. Strong leaders, aspiration is a very strong motivating factor. So we say the combination area of all the three, ability, engagement, and aspiration, is what we say is high potential employees, and these are an assets. Now understand, I have not talked about performance. I am not talking of performance in potential. Potential is different, performance is different. Combo of potential and performance comes to talent management. So ability is predominantly tactical in nature. Engagement is more psychological, belief in nature, and desire to take up challenges. So that's a combination of behavior, tactical decision making, behavioral decision making, and the desire to grow and scale up is predominantly the aspect of potential. Any questions you have on potential, you can actually ask me right now. Just come on, unmute and ask me. I'm perfectly fine with it. Okay. So predominantly high potential everybody wants in your company. Okay. In essence, high potential employees do what they do, want to do more, always go that extra mile and see a future for themselves in your organization. It's an asset. Everybody wants them, but there is a very big risk. The biggest risk is keeping them engaged and occupied. You get a fantastic guy in your company, but if you are not giving him a job that will help him fulfill all his needs, behavioral needs, decision making needs, tactical skills, and give him the aspiration and growth path, he is going to be out of business. That's not mean that he is going to become the CEO of the company immediately. As a fresher, if you have a high potential guy in the fresher, I have to aspirations, needs, I need to show him that there is growth in the organization, and tomorrow this is what will happen to him. I also need to give him a thought for decision making in his own capability, which is for his tactical ability level. I also need to give him food and, or what I say, fodder for him to be able to interact with people and fulfill the need for engagement within the organization or outside the organization. So these are assets within any organization, but the biggest challenge is keeping them engaged. Okay, otherwise they might leave the company if you are not catering to even one of these three factors. Okay. Small difference between potential and performance. Any questions? Hello. Yeah. Okay. So behavior potential is predominantly from the combo of behavioral, but it is judgmental in nature. Okay, and performance is tangible, measurable. This is what itna target, itna KPI, KRS. This is defined. Okay. Here parameters like whether this guy is curious, does he take initiative, does he have the insight to take decision making, is he engaged in the organization, is he determined to fight. All these things are the mapping parameters. Okay, but these are all judgmental in nature. Potential interview is not only the process for hiring this person. Every meeting with the HR sometimes happens from gauging it's a process of interview where the meeting, you can call it meeting or you can call it interview. But if I have to map people's potential, it is always based on a process of interview or a questionnaire given to them, subjective questionnaire given to those people to understand. Performance, measurable parameter or the process is the performance appraisal, where they sit with each other and understand this is our target, this is what you have achieved, why you did achieve, how you did achieve, how do you think you can achieve next month's targets, next year's target, etc., etc., etc. So this is the measuring parameter is performance appraisal, and here it is process of interviews. Potential mein, there will always be a personal bias because it's subjective in nature. So, but that gets eliminated by having open discussions with the entire team. When we are doing 360-degree 9-box theory applications, I'll share that. So that gets eliminated, but there is definitely a chance of personal bias to creep in. Whereas personal bias in performance can creep in only at the time of giving your KRS and KPIs. Uske baad mein it is measurable, yeah. So not much of personal bias comes in. I have achieved my target. I have achieved my target. I have not. It's kind of black and gray to a large, black and white into a large extent. But in potential, it will be gray to a large extent. Okay. Yeah. So
I have a doubt, sir.
Yes, please ask.
So when it comes to performance, the performance is measured and it is being used to evaluate or to promote or whatever it is to
Come again. Can you just repeat the question, please?
We have got two things here, performance and potential. Okay.
Okay.
You measure the performance so that that would be used to decide whether to give him a promotion or a bonus or whatever it is.
Okay.
Okay. Now, when it comes to potential, okay. So the measurement of the potential where actually is being used.
Okay. Can you hold on to your question for the next 2 slides? It will get answered.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
It's actually because you don't measure, you don't give. Okay. One small thing which I would like to correct here is based on performance we don't promote people, based on performance we don't give, probably we can give cash incentives. Okay, but hold on for 2 slides, the answer will get solved. Okay, when we talk of 9-box theory. So that is where to find the combo or the combination between performance versus potential. Okay, the concept of 9-box theory comes into play. Okay, I have sorry, in the slide I have not put which is x-axis and which is y-axis. Let me just tell you which is x-axis. Okay, so yeah, so the x-axis, the horizontal arrow mark is that of performance. Okay, and the vertical y-axis is that of potential. Okay, and we are divided into 9 boxes: low, medium, high. So the extreme left hand side, which we say talent risk, is low on potential, low on performance. The solid professional is low on potential, medium on performance. Okay, I think I should put that slide. Just give me 1 second. I'll just put that slide and I'll put that mark. Otherwise, it unnecessarily complicates matters. Give me 1 second. Let me say. So this is going to be performance. Okay. 1 second. Sorry for the, because otherwise I'll also will keep talking about the same thing. Okay, I have put one. This is performance. Okay, just 1 more second. Okay. Now, can you see the slide? Hello? Can you see the slide?
So you have not shared.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So the x-axis is performance, the y-axis is potential, low, medium, and high. Okay. So basically, the topmost right side consistent star is what we call as a guy who's got high on performance and high on potential. Understanding this? And the guy at the extreme end of the matrix, which is talent matrix, is low on performance, low on potential. Somebody who is on the y-axis, what we call as rough diamond, is a person who is very high on potential, jabardast talent. Okay, I don't want to take name. Somebody like a Rishabh Pant, talented banda hai, lekin performance lapda hai. Okay, so I mean, with due respects to the gentleman, I'm just giving you an example, which I normally give the example of Tendulkar when Tendulkar did not open the innings. All of you would, and I use a lot of cricket examples, easy to understand, and everybody relates to it. Tendulkar never opened the innings for the first 73 one-day matches. Okay, but everybody knew Tendulkar mein potential hai. Okay, so he was probably a rough diamond. Okay, and but playing at the wrong position. When his position got changed and we made him open the innings, from a rough diamond, Tendulkar became a consistent star for us. Okay, he was high on performance, high on potential. Okay, so understand this. So the future star and current star, I would like to spend some time. Future, everybody has their role except for talent risks. Okay, you need to give a roadmap or a growth path to all the people as a HR in your company. Okay, everybody you need to make sure that they take it to the next level. So future star and current star. Future stars are those people who have got tremendous potential, but performance is still not yet up to the mark. Whereas there are some people whose potential is jabardast. Okay, but their performance is tremendous, but their potential, it could be probably because they don't want to take up challenges, and that is why they are still at the current star. So a lot of times when you are promoting people, now I'm answering ma'am's question. When you are promoting people, would you promote a future star or would you promote a current star? Anybody can take this answer? I want at least 2-3 points of views, because both can be argued for. You have to promote somebody. Whom do you promote? Do you promote a future star or do you promote a current star? One guy is high on potential, medium on performance. The other guy is high on performance and medium on potential. Hello? Audible? Or is it
Yes,
too
we are.
hi-fi?
Yes. No, it's
Yes,
audible.
So
Actually,
whom
I
do you?
think
Yes, ma'am.
it is better to promote the current consistent performance,
Why?
because you're assured of performance and he could be trained for better things.
Okay. Okay. Not necessarily, no, ma'am.
But the potential performer who is not performing now
Mm-hmm.
could always be a challenge.
Okay. Anybody wants to put the other way around, and then I'll give you a third option.
No, I'm just putting.
No, perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. I'm just saying, if you see in the moment we include something which is descriptive in nature, it is going to be a debate which is going to happen. Okay, because your view will change from my view. Okay, so that is the best part and the worst part. Okay, the worst part about potential is it's subjective in nature. It cannot be documented, but we do a small process which I'll share in the next couple of minutes once we finish this. Okay, anybody wants to support the other person, the future star?
It's just to support. It may happen that the coming up projects that I'm going to have are going to be more challenging. So
Okay, I'll give you an easier example. CEO of your company has resigned. I'll give a specific example so it makes your thinking process better. CEO of your company has resigned. Okay, you have two vice presidents. One vice president taking care of the APAC market, Asia Pacific market, and one vice president taking care of the European market. Okay, one guy, okay, let us take the European market guy is a future star, and the Asian market star is a current star. Understanding the difference? One guy is high on potential, less on performance. One guy is. So what will you do?
Bring someone else.
Possible. That was the third option that I was thinking of. Okay. So yes, it could also be a solution where you bring somebody from outside. Okay, who could probably be your, a current star. Okay, it is possible. Okay, so that is why hiring and fire happens. But here is where let me come back to the slide. Here is where concept of succession planning starts getting incorporated in organizations.
Yes, very much.
So succession planning is all about am I creating future stars and current stars so that I can take them to the next level. Now here there are some pluses and some minuses. Anuradha ma'am ka one just countering Anuradha ma'am. The right wrong separate and just countering you just for the sake of countering. One point. The one point is the current star, if the role is different. If the role is different, okay, then probably like I said, I might lose out on even the current star. He might not become a consistent star because I do not know. You see, potential is something which is looking at a bigger perspective. A guy who's performing is target driven. Normally, if a person who is a current star will have his target set and is a hardcore performer. Matlab, hook or crook, kaam khatam karna hai, this is my target, he or she will do it. That's their envisage. Okay. A future star probably does not look at it because he probably is doing a lot of groundwork to stabilize the roots so that he's compromising on not achieving his targets. I'm just bringing in both pointers. Okay. So probably once a future star starts performing, it is very easy for him to go to a consistent star role, especially if there's a promotion involved. Okay, or different job role involved. Okay,
But it's a chance you are taking, right?
It's a chance I'm taking. Definitely, it's a chance that I'm taking. But I'm just putting in hypothetically. A guy with potential can always be made to perform.
Is it always true?
Not always.
Until
Then that's debatable. That's debatable. That's definitely
Until
debatable.
and unless he gets that, I need to perform.
Okay. Let me bring in one more pointer, which is I think getting missed. Okay. Now, okay, I'm bringing in one more point. A person who, this is all respective job roles. It is not their individual potential man or their individual roles. Okay. For example, if I promote the current star to the CEO's role, he might still be at high professional only. Because for the new role, his potential will change. His performance will change because he's starting the matrix again from a different perspective. Potential I can still gauge to a certain extent, but performance depends upon his actual status, which I will get to know only after 3 months. Or probably at least 1 month or 2 months down the line. So performance I will not know. My performance is my past performance by playing in this innings. When I sent Tendulkar opening for the first time, there was no performance records for me whether Tendulkar will play good in opening or not. There is no records in the first level for me to know. So his performance again, my potential is always subjective. So that potential is descriptive, but my performance always starts from zero only, from a low, medium, high only. Of course, yes, depending upon my first quarter results, I immediately decide whether this guy is performing or not. But normally, as the decision making level goes high in the organization, okay, I mean, it's again subjective in nature, but sometimes it's easy from a different role perspective. A person with who's got this, again, it's descriptive because the essence of potential is always descriptive in nature. So normally we say if a guy has got potential, or a guy or girl has got potential, then performance can be inculcated as long as we show the carrot or the stick to that person. Okay, so that normally is the thing, but again, it is descriptive in nature. But talent management means succession planning happens based on this one parameter. As when you are hiring people, if you are coming to this matrix and you found that there's talent risks in the organization, immediately put them on PIP mode, focus on their performance, and if their performance is not improved, it is time to say goodbye. Sorry, very dangerous dialogue, but that is how the industry works. It's very dangerous to hire people, whatever salary that they come in, low salary, whatever salary, a person with less potential and less performance is the same. Now, rough diamond, I would like to spend some time on rough diamond. Rough diamonds are people with tremendous potential, but performance nahi hai. It could be even a reason that this person is lazy. Okay, I am making a dangerous statement, but it could be a person is lazy. Okay, but good organizations spend a lot of time on I don't want a lot of time by identifying rough diamonds, because a rough diamond, if becomes a consistent star, works for me at a very economical cost than hiring a consistent star from outside. Like Padikkal, again using cricket. Padikkal for me, what full name kya hai uska? I forgot his name. Cricketer, RCB fans, name please. Padikkal full name. Where?
Devdutt Padikkal.
Huh?
Devdutt Padikkal.
Devdutt. So Devdutt Padikkal came to RCB at a less cost. Okay. Now I have identified he's a rough diamond. If I polish this rough diamond and say you will become the vice captain of RCB, and RCB is a business organization at the end of the day. Okay, let's be very clear. RCB is a business organization at the end of the day. Sorry, though it's a sporting, it's a franchisee. Okay, so if I say you are the next wicket keeper, okay, I polish this guy. That's exactly what Rohit Sharma was, that Mumbai Indians did to Rohit Sharma. Okay, Rohit Sharma, when he joined the Mumbai, the franchise, he was a rough diamond, but they made sure usko polish karke hold kiya. And today, look at the amount at which you can get a consistent star tomorrow, 3 years down the line, to be the captain of your team or franchise. I'm just throwing an example so it's easy for us to understand. Okay, rough diamond, if you focus on those rough diamonds and make them consistent stars, you get this guy at a good rate. Okay, again, you will pay him highly at the end of the day, but it is the passion, and this thing works, but it works out. That the passion also gets coming to somebody growing in the organization, always brings in passion. The culture of the organization is always met, especially when they become CEOs or the leaders of the organization. So that is one of the things with succession planning is the key here. So any question on this slides, if you want, you can ask me. In fact, I'll show you the next slide. I think the next slide is, yeah. This is some of the tactics that techniques that you use. I'll share these slides. These are techniques that you share predominantly when you share these. What is the level of action plan that you will do to polish these people? Okay. So talent hires, bad hire, immediately put them into PIP. Solid professionals, feedback, coaching. You have, that's why companies today have got something called as mentoring ability. They will have dual mentors, one functional mentor and one from admin mentor. So these mentors spend time and take these people to the next level. So these are the techniques that they work on. People with high potential or medium potential, coaching is predominantly one of the because they are self-driven. So you coach them and then you can lead them. People who are less in performance, normally what we say, they always need feedback. They need to be measured against timelines, the KPIs or the likes of it. So that's how you work on them. Okay, and consistent stars, you take them to the next level, you mentor them and you delegate responsibilities. They like being given responsibilities. Future stars, put them in challenging environments. They have to break that thing and they have to come out with out of the box solutions, and those are the things that they normally come out with. So any questions on this? And then I have around 2 slides left and then we can wind up. So any questions, feel free till now. I hope it's going decent now, or was it too high-fi or heavy? For the students, was it too tough to understand, comprehend, or expectations being
No,
met?
it was fine. It was fine.
Okay. So yeah. So any questions on talent management or the 9-box theory? You can ask me. Hello. Okay. How they use 9-box theory? I'll just share with you all the process of implementing 9-box theory. First and foremost, there are talent management consultants. If you're doing it, any organization doing it for the first time, they don't do it alone. You need to have expertise, somebody who understands this, and there is somebody who's like an ombudsman, a referee, so that the meeting is going in the right direction. You always need to have a preparation meeting, a pre-meeting. Okay, you always pick one person who is high on performance and high on potential in each level. Suppose you are talking about say manager level. So all the managers level, or normally if you're putting M1 level, M2 level, or some levels L1, L2, L3, depending upon which level you are looking at. So M1 is your management level cadre people. So you always bring one person who is a consensus of the members discussing this. Okay, there should be a HR, there should be functional heads, and basically it will be a head level meeting. Okay, so the functional heads will have a consensus on one person. They will have a consensus on one person who, according to everybody, is high on potential, high on performance. They will draw a nice graph and they will put this person's picture on the profile wherever they feel this guy fits in. On the right side, topmost, they will fit this person. Then they will ask a lot of whys. Okay, why do you think he's good on performance? Then they will give examples. This was one situation where this guy excelled with decision making. He's always achieved his number. Performance is easy to evaluate. Performance diya hai, malum hai, work kiya hai. It's only on the potential that you have to be descriptive. So it questions ask a lot of whys. Then what you do? That guy is your benchmark. So every guy that they take will be compared with that person. Let us say A1 will be compared. His potential level will be compared with A1, and they will start placing him on that graph, on that 9-box graph. They will start placing him here, wherever they feel even. Performance level is taken care of. It's only the potential level that has to be mapped. So on the y-axis, they will place that person. X-axis ka measurement is always there. 60% achieved, 70% achieved, 80% achieved. X-axis is taken care of. So they will put that person. If consensus is not evolved, they will put that name outside. They will take the next name. Okay. Again, whenever there is, because sometimes comparing it with A1 might be tough, but if A2 has to be compared with probably some A2 I am not able to achieve a consensus, put A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, and then probably again after all these people, then it becomes easy to compare A2 with probably A7. So I know A3 ke saath compare karna aasan hai. So you can actually then start placing people on this. And once you do this, this is an ongoing process. Even just like your performance matrix, personal appraisals in place, performance appraisal in place, you need to evaluate your talent management metrics and start checking if their potential is increasing based on the reaction. That is the exact meaning of mentoring. You need to do one-to-one meetings with those people, and these are the questions normally asked to find out whether this person has got potential. How do you react when someone challenges you? It's a behavioral aspect. So some of these questions which you can ask during the interview of gauging potential. Again, not the end question mark, but this is some of these questions. What do you do to broaden your thinking, experience, personal management development, foster some of these examples? Again, English. I'll share the slides. You can actually get it. So you do this on a continuous basis. But 9-box theory is a fantastic metrics to be able to promote people or even give cash incentives to people rather than promoting people. So you can take a call whom to be fired, whom to take them to the next level, who is CEO material of your organization, even though he might be in your entry level management today. But if you feel this guy can become the CEO of the organization 6 years down the line, you probably start investing on him today. So that's a measurement will not be performance, it will probably be potential. So you gauge those kind of people. That is why good companies have something called as management interns, management trainees. Okay, the management training will always be on the fast track. BASF is one company where I know they have got a very strong management trainee funda. The CEO will be somebody who comes from the management trainee road map only. Okay, NDA, Indian Army. If you want to become the head of the Indian Army, you have to come from the NDA route only. Okay, so these are some of the, this is like a fast track route, the management trainee route, because the potential is already tested. It's only the performance that will take you to the next level. So these are some of the things which every organization has. So I think I'm throwing it open for questions. Anybody, any questions on anything that I've shared today, or any questions on the industry? you can ask. I would prefer some students asking me questions because normally this I do it for faculties. I got a few requests, can students participate? So I actually allowed them to participate, but surprisingly, I expected them to ask me a lot of questions. I do not know. I would literally ask their, was it in sync with what they were expecting? Because I always prefer interactive sessions. Otherwise, maja nahi aata. Okay, so anybody, any questions? I would prefer students asking, but faculties also can ask because it's predominantly every faculties. Any questions? Hello? No questions means nothing understood or everything understood? Hello? Clinton?
Yes, sir.
Questions, sir?
Sir, I found the session quite interesting, but there is this one part where you said that alternative employees can be found, or the present and the past employee trends. Sir, if someone is excelling now and if someone is going to excel in the future, you gave three options. That is, one was go for the employee who is actually successful now and might be successful in the future. And the other one option was he might not be working now, but there is very much potential that he might work in the future.
No. Okay, let me make some
sir.
clarifications. When I'm saying that this guy is high on performance or low on performance, it is a
Yes, sir.
quarterly measuring index. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's a quarterly measuring index. Okay, it doesn't mean that he is a failure. Okay, sometimes the target would have been stretched. Okay, it's a new product launch. If it's a new organization, new brand product launch. Okay, now the guy would have failed. Okay, but then
Yes.
the product itself would have failed in the market. So that is why his performance will be less, but the guy's potential might be high. I'm just giving a hypothetical example. That doesn't mean that this guy will be removed from the company. People who will be going into PAP is probably only the lowest one. Low on potential, low on performance. Okay, that is the first point. Second point, why getting? I think you're not comfortable with the point that somebody from outside should be coming in. Is that the main question?
Yes, sir, because
Okay.
the company itself will be having the potential. That's the reason why IJPs have become quite prominent in the present
True.
market.
Very true. Now I'm just bringing in a hypothetical. So the case to case, it is always going to be a descriptive case to case for the simple reason because the moment we bring potential in the picture, it is a case of descriptive discussion. Okay, because it is not measured. Okay, that is the biggest drawback that potential brings into the picture. But at the same time, it compensates to a large extent the drawback that the high performance individual, when you promote him, might not do well. There is one plus in potential, but there's a downside in KPIs also. A guy who is performing well in one role, if you promote him, I don't know if he will perform in that role.
Yes, sir.
And so that is why this 9-box theory comes. It brings about a marriage between two things. It's kind of nullifying potential versus performance. But I'll give you one more scenario. Okay, both of them are at competition, and you promote one person, the other person might resign. Possibilities are high.
Yes, sir.
Get people from outside.
So then in this situation, if it is a single role, let's say if it is a managerial role or something, HR would require to go through the whole process of analyzing that one particular role, sir?
No. Okay. This is normally a talent management or a 9-box theory is predominantly used for top management.
Yes, sir.
Okay. It is, you don't use the 9-box theory or potential management to entry level managers or below the pyramid kind of workforce. You use it
Yes,
for
sir.
the top management, the top 10, 20 people, 30 people. If it's a very big organization like Accenture, probably 100 people, 200, 500 people, the correct. Okay, but then you have different HRs, and it's not only HR. Talent, the 9-box theory meeting will not be done only with the HR. It will have all the functional heads there in.
Okay. So now in this situation, won't a organization like someone which actually deals with HR acquisition, won't that be a good option to actually make, meaning being made a part of this particular meeting? Like there are organizations which actually give you higher vice president or CEO role kind of people. They are the ones who hire for that premier role.
Headhunting you're talking of.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So-
See, headhunt, there are two things. See, just like I'm not neither am I saying that you hire every time from outside. Okay, sometimes internal Infosys till the 1999s were a huge practice that only an Infosician, what do they call them? Infosician. Okay, only a guy from Infosys can become the CEO of the organization. That was their unsaid rule. Okay,
Yes,
and it was something which used to motivate employees who joined Infosys. Okay, so that is the reason. 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 Okay, so
Yes, sir.
Okay, because they were very clear, a CEO from outside cannot come into our organization. Of course, that was their the thing. So both work. See, again, it is depends upon what works for you. If your organization feels that internal promotions always motivate, and it is economical to a large extent, and external acquisition will always be high on the purse. Let us be very clear. But sometimes when you get extra, I'm just talking pluses minuses, okay? I'm not making any value based judgments here. I'm just ruffling up the minds by throwing in different points. When you get people from outside, you are actually getting external expertise from outside. Sometimes frog in the well jesa. When you get somebody from outside, you are bringing in best practices of other organizations into your organizations. So that is also a plus sign when you get people from outside at the top management level. Okay, because you understand what's happening in the outside world, what others are doing differently, which you could probably incorporate. And this all starts, other culture. Like IPL ka biggest success is when an Australian guy is part of your Indian cricket team ka board. Sorry, not Indian cricket team, a franchisee ka board. You are getting the expertise of an Australian coach into the Indian cricket team, right? Or the franchisee's cricket team. So your external acquisition sometimes is good. Okay, so it depends upon what you are playing for, whom you are playing for, and how you are playing for. So but you consider all these factors. One point which I said, headhunting ke pehle, when you are doing an internal meeting to identify potential and mapping people on 9-box theory, there are some HR talent management professionals, okay, who understand this entire, because you cannot do it alone the first time. That's what I said. Normally you need to hire a consultant. Some big consultants are there, they have their own consultants who put the process roadmap into play for organizations for doing a 9-box theory analysis, and with the team, so that once they do that for probably 1 year, and then they can sign off. So then you can start doing it on your own. But it is not only the HR who will do a 9-box theory. Then it is absolutely no use, because the HR will only go on gut feel. Okay, and when I'm saying a 9-box theory measuring potential, it is not on gut feel. It is with substantiate questions asked. Why do you feel? Why? Asking a lot of whys. Okay, and then putting that guy on the x-axis, high performance, and you start always with the person whom you feel is the highest, the best performer and the best guy with the potential in the top management. That is what we call as blue-eyed boys. Most of the corporate system, blue-eyed boy. So you start with the best blue-eyed boy there, and then start working and comparing other people there. Okay, and then it need not be permanent. So it keeps varying every 3 months. Every 3 or 6 months, you keep doing this exercise. There are two things here. What happens is you can actually plan for a succession planning. Okay, that's the aim of a 9-box theory. Works very strongly when you are understanding succession planning. And most important thing is you can find out if a person is getting disgruntled because of not being given a challenging job, and especially the high potential people, the challenging environment, if that is getting reduced now, they start wandering, and they start looking out for other avenues. So holding on to them, this exercise actually helps you do that.
Yes, sir.
Answered?
Yes, sir. Yes,
ये
sir.
पूछने के लिए पूछा या just because I took your name you asked?
नहीं सर, मेरे को बस वही कंफ्यूजन था सर कि बाहर से लाने की जरूरत कब पड़ेगी करके, मतलब
बाहर से लाने का जरूरत बहुत पड़ता है. One is, like I said, when there is both competitions, and both people will not listen if I promote one against the other, especially in a top pyramid. CEO है, okay, manager level पे ज्यादा problem नहीं होता है. CEO level में I have a challenge. If I make this guy the CEO, the other guy has to report to him. Question mark.
सर अगर जो एम्प्लॉइज रहते हैं ना, उन्हें प्रोग्रेस ही नहीं दिख रहा है, तो सोचो कि 3 साल से काम कर रहे हैं, 5 साल से काम कर रहे हैं, उन्हें प्रमोशन नहीं.
That is where they normally give independent charges.
Okay.
They give independent charges. Like Infosys did something, no? They gave independent charge of the APAC market, European market. They'll give independent charges. Okay, that's something which is done. Okay, but here I'll say something. Normally this happens at the CEO level, and that is normally how much business. It works predominantly from a business perspective.
Okay.
Okay, so normally functional heads, as you keep going up the pyramid, it's predominantly your sales or marketing or business which is going to be the parameter of performance. Because at the end of it, dhanda kitna, how much dollars are coming in is what is important.
Okay.
And it will always converge. You might be an HR guy, you might be a finance guy, or the thing. If you're rising up the ladder and going towards the CEO level, end of the day, you are going to be talked on business. You're going to be evaluated on business. Kitna dhanda leke aaya, how much money you're bringing to the table. Top line, bottom line. Great. Because at the company level, I am focused. My target is predominantly top line and bottom line.
Okay.
Thanks, sir. Anybody else? Any questions? Hello? Okay. Thanks so much. Wish you all the very best. God bless you. Take care. Bye bye. Be safe. Stay safe.
Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome, ma'am.